Stuart, so we've just filmed on, well, for TikTok, the Martin Lewis version of the pros and cons of buying off plan. Now we're going to take the relaxed style.
Okay, cool. Well, buying off plan. Let me say this. You need to know a bit of background. Of course, there was a 2008 financial crisis. There were many Spanish homes left unfinished. On the back of that, developers in Spain are hyper regulated. Okay, there's really strong Spanish consumer protection law now in place. So what that means is developers can never have access to your money. Okay, so the developers have to make sure the money goes to a client or escrow account and they can borrow against that in order to build, but your money is protected. Any lawyer will make sure before you sign a contract there are bank guarantees in place. Okay, so that's a bit of a background, but you also need to know that because of this, there will be quite stringent anti-money laundering controls that you need to pass. The days of Russian black money coming to the Costa del Sol are far gone. Okay, so that's a bit of background. If a developer does not deliver on time, they have to pay you a legal interest. Okay, it's about 3%. Okay, but you can opt to carry on if they're only a few months delayed. Let me take the pros and cons. Firstly, let's start with the pros. The first pro is if you buy right at the start of a launch, you can get some really good prices. So we have many examples of customers who have bought right at the start at launch prices, and when they come to sell or when we come to value it later on for a mortgage, there's been an uplift of about 25 to 30%. Okay, so that's buying at the launch prices. The reason why you get such good prices is because the developer has to self-fund, and when they can show that the development is 50% sold, they can go and get financing from banks. So they really incentivize those first 50% of buyers. So that's point number one. Point number two is cash flow. Obviously, if you're buying off plan, you can delay the money which you need. Normally it's a 30-70 rule, so 30% down and then 70% on completion when you get the keys. Next, third reason is if you buy a modern home, they tend to be open plan, really energy efficient, have things like aerothermic, water boilers. They have all big windows, for instance, which are great insulation with the double glazing. So, and also some of the developments have really cool facilities like indoor spas and gyms. Okay. The fourth reason is a new development will get the first occupancy license. We've never had an experience where it hasn't. Okay. And that's really important if you want the Andalusia tourist license. The fifth thing is there's no community debts. It's a brand new community. So you're not going to have any overhanging debts. Lawyers do check when it's a resale, but how far can the check go? We had one instance where a customer bought and 10 years prior, there was an accident in the development and each individual who were part of a community had to stump up a little bit of cash to pay for this person's medical expenses. And the fifth thing is no refurb is required, right? I've just done a bit of refurb. It's not cheap and you have to really wait to get good contractors. So that's the sixth benefit or pro. Now the cons. The first con is normally when it's a new development, they buy plots which are a little bit further away from the cities. So walking to places is much more difficult. So they tend to be around golf courses and things like that. Why? Because the plots are cheaper and the developers can make their margins. The second thing is you have to wait, of course, if you're buying off plan. And for some people that want to get on with their golden visa, you know, you need to take title to an actual property before you can actually apply for your golden visa. The third thing is you pay higher taxes. You're paying VAT, which is 10%. We call it IVA here in Spain, rather than transfer tax, which is 7%. So there's a 3% difference. Okay, what else is interesting? Oh, a big con is snagging. When you get delivered a property, there's a snagging process to check that the property is delivered correctly. And of course, this is an iterative process where you as owners have to be on top of the developers, their after sales team, in order to get the snagging done correctly. And then lastly, there can be delays. Obviously, the developer in the contract has to deliver by a certain time, but the town hall still needs to come and sign off the development in order to give it the first occupancy license. And town halls can sometimes be slow, especially if a property is delivered around summertime. So whatever the developer tells you, I would always add 2 to 3 months on top. That's that. Hope it helps.
Well, it's very clear.
Thank you.
Thank you.